Hi friends, and welcome back. I am here with 2 more chapters for you in our February Friend Read Aloud. We have a pretty big clue when we left off the last time, where the kids had figured out, or think they figured out, that it's actually a boat in the background of that picture. And there's a bunny on a boat, and they have a clue as to whose boat that might be. They found the letters S-K-I, and now they're on their way to meet up with Mr. Pinkowski, who rents out boats in the summertime, but also sells bait for ice fishing in the wintertime. So, Chapter 7, Bunny in a Boat. Again, I'm going to read 2 chapters for you in this one video. So if you want to watch both chapters, that's great. But if you want to pause it, know that this is chapter 7 to start us off, okay? Bunny in a Boat. The kids hiked on River Road along Indian River. The sun shone brightly on the snow and the water. How far is it to the bait shop? Lucy asked. It's just up the river, past the middle school, Bradley said. Soon they saw the bait shop. It was a small wooden building with windows facing the river. Smoke came from a chimney. A black pickup truck sat next to the shop. I hear a noise, Nate said. They all did. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The kids walked around the building to the entrance. A tall man with a beard was chopping wood. His nose was red and his breath was white. Again, that's the author's way of not straight out telling us it's cold outside, but your nose gets rosy red when you're cold out, and your breath kind of sometimes almost seems to come out as if it's smoke coming out of your mouth. So his breath was white when it's so cold outside that you can see your breath. So sometimes an author gives you clues as to what it's like without really coming out and saying it. Hi, Mr. Pinkowski, Bradley said. The man looked up and smiled. He set his axe down and wiped his face with a handkerchief. Hi, kids, he smiled at Lucy. Have we met? This is Lucy, Bradley said. She's Dink's cousin from California. Ron put out his hand and they shook. You kids want to buy some bait? He asked. No, but we have a question for you, Bradley said. Do you know anyone with a black and white rabbit? He handed Ron the pictures. Well, he's sitting in one of my boats, all right, Ron said. But I've never seen that bunny before. So I'll show you both sides of it. This is Mr. Pinkowski, who is closely observing those photographs. This is what it means to chop wood. So that thwack we first heard is when you take that. This is a very sharp tool. This part is made of metal. The handle is made of wood. This is where you hold it in your hand, and then you kind of whack down and it splits the logs in half. So you get firewood. So there's Mr. Pinkowski, and here's all of the kids, watching him observe those photographs. Also kind of keep in mind, remember that red rosy nose and the cold, the white breath coming out because it's pretty cold out there. The kids told Ron about finding the rabbit in the closet at school. They explained that Douglas wouldn't eat and told him what the vet said. Ron pulled on his nose. I wish I could help, he said. Have you tried asking the pet shop on Main Street? Yeah, but they didn't know the rabbit either, Lucy said. Wait a second, Ron said. My wife might have rented out the boat. He pulled out a cell phone and punched in some numbers. Honey, it's me at the shop. Do you remember renting out one of the boats to a guy with a rabbit? You did? Who was it? Do you remember? The Pinto twins and their friends are here trying to find the rabbit's owner. Ron listened for another minute, then said goodbye. My wife says it was an older man with white hair, he told the kids. He rented the boat last summer. Did your wife write down his name? Bradley asked. He had his fingers crossed, like you're hoping and you're praying, crossing his fingers, hoping for good luck. Ron nodded his head. Yup, we always take names when we rent boats, he said. But it's tax time. We sent all our paperwork to our accountant. The slip of paper with his name on it is in a box with hundreds of others. You can kind of tell this is an older book because most things are on the computer nowadays. You don't actually need a paper receipt anymore, but who knows? The kids thanked Ron Pinkowski and left. A cold wind blew off the river. A few small snowflakes flew into their faces. Bradley felt his stomach sink. They were running out of clues and time. Someone in this town has to know who owns Douglas, he thought. Then he realized there was a person in town who knew everyone. Come on, we're going to Ellie's diner, Bradley yelled into the wind. I don't have any money, Nate said. We're going there to talk to Ellie, Bradley said. She knows everyone, so maybe she knows rabbits too. Cutting across the school grounds, it took them only a few minutes to reach the diner. The inside was warm and smelled like donuts. They sat in a booth by the window and took off their mittens. Hi, kids, Ellie said. She was wiping a shelf where she kept the donuts, cookies and bagels. She placed some cookies on a plate. Here, eat these. They're left over. If you don't want them, I'll feed them to the squirrels. The kids thanked Ellie and each took a cookie. Bradley pulled out the pictures again. This is Douglas. We're looking for his owner, he said. He explained how they had found Douglas at school the morning before. He misses his owner and won't eat anything, Bradley said. We think the owner is an older man with white hair, said Nate. Ellie studied the pictures. I've seen this rabbit, she said. There is Ellie, who works at the diner. And sometimes in a small town, a diner is a restaurant, but in small towns there aren't a ton of restaurants to choose from. So when you work at a diner in a small town, she kind of knows everybody. They all come into the diner. So this is Ellie, and that's why they decided to go to her in the first place, because everybody knows Ellie and Ellie knows everybody. And she says, I think I've seen this rabbit before. And that is chapter 7. But again, we're going to go right into chapter 8, which is called Ellie to the Rescue. You have? Where? Bradley asked. Out front, Ellie told the excited kids. It was around Thanksgiving and it was real warm outside. A boy came by on a bike. Ellie tapped one of the pictures. This rabbit was sitting in the bike's basket. Do you know who the boy was? Asked Nate. Ellie shook her head. No, I don't think he was from Greenlawn, she said. He was older than you kids. He might have been visiting someone for the holiday. Maybe he was visiting the man with the scar on his finger, Lucy said. It could be his grandfather, Brian suggested. Bradley pulled out the picture that showed Douglas sitting on a lawn near a hedge. And maybe this is that man's lawn, he said. Ellie pointed toward the back of her diner. When the boy left, he rode his bike that way, toward the bird streets, she said. What's a bird street? Asked Lucy. Over by Bridge Lane, all the streets are named after birds, Brian explained. The 4 kids huddled over the picture. There are at least 10 bird streets, Brian said. They all have lawns and they all have hedges. Bradley put his finger on the picture. Look, there's something on the other side of that hedge, he said. It looks like a building, Lucy said. Guys, I think that's the town hall, Nate said. That must be the flag on the top. No, it can't be the town hall, Brian said. There are no houses near it and no hedges. Bradley held the picture closer. It's Center Church, he said. That isn't a flag on top. It's the church steeple. A steeple often it's a tall point at the top of a building, and if it's a church, it often has a cross at the top of it. Bradley looked up, grinning. All we have to do is find out which house has a view of the church over the hedge, he said. Almost all of them do, Brad, Brian said. We'll never find the right one. Yes, we will, Bradley said. He slipped the pictures into a pocket. We have to, for Douglas. So what do we do? Nate asked. We should walk down Bridge Lane, Bradley suggested. We'll pass by all the bird streets and we can look over the hedges for the church. The kids thanked Ellie and pulled on their mittens. Outside, the wind was blowing harder. The sky was dark gray. It's starting to snow, Nate said. He stuck his tongue out to catch a snowflake. Let's hurry, Bradley said. The kids walked past the fitness center and turned left onto Bridge Lane. The first street they came to was Wren Drive. Remember, these are all bird streets. So a wren is a kind of bird. They walked to the end of the short street where tall hedges grew. They looked over the hedges. I can see the church, Bradley said, but it doesn't look like the same view as in the picture. Let's try the next street, suggested Lucy. They hurried back up Wren Drive, then went left to Blue Jay Way. A blue jay is another bird. They peered over the hedge behind the last house. This doesn't look right either, Brian said. They could all see the church steeple, but when they compared it to the picture, the views just didn't seem the same. They looked over the hedges behind Pheasant Lane, Owl Road, and Thrush Court. One of the hedges was too tall. Another one had a tree growing out of it. The hedge at the end of Thrush Court had a white fence in front of it. None of these are right, Bradley said. How many more of these bird streets are there? Lucy asked. A few more, Bradley said. His nose was red and running. Snowflakes were catching in his eyelashes. Come on, guys. It has to be one of these. The kids hiked to Finch Lane. They came to a small yellow house. Behind the house was a neat hedge. It was covered with snow. Bradley pulled out the picture and held it up. I think we found the street, he said. So this is him holding up the picture, and it looks pretty darn similar to the house they have just found. And that is where I'm going to leave you for today. The title of this chapter was Ellie to the Rescue. So do we think we have truly found Bradley's owner? We'll have to wait and see. Until next time, bye friends.